Welcome to the Valhalla Filmcast, a show where normal guys talk about the films that they love. And here are your hosts, Bryce Thompson, Brian Hammond, and Cody Ryrie. Now get ready, because the show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Valhalla Filmcast. I am Bryce Thompson. I'm here with Brian Hammond and Cody Ryrie. And today we are going to talk about the newest Ghostbusters that has just been released. Let's just get into it. What do you think?
Can we do... I thought it'd be good if we did positives first and then moved into negatives. So what did everybody like about the movie?
Well, I liked how they kept Ghostbusters, even though it was a reboot. I liked how they had all of the main characters in it. I really liked that. I really liked how they kind of, they made it have that Ghostbusters feel by doing that. Mm-hmm. And that made me happy to see. And also, I thought it was pretty freaking funny. Like, I was laughing throughout the whole thing. It was lots funnier than I thought it was going to be. I definitely walked out of there a lot more happy than I kind of really expected.
Well, real quick, we're keeping this spoiler free, or are we going into spoilers? We didn't say.
Just check out and look for our spoiler show.
Okay, keeping it spoiler free right now.
So yes. You know that there's cameos.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that shouldn't be. I mean, that's been announced a long time ago that there was cameos.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it was kind of nice that they, passed the torch along. And, that happens fairly often on a reboot, so that was good.
Brian, you want to give us our positives, or your positives real quick?
Okay, spoiler-free positives. I think it had the same feel, both in visual effects and, thematic material. I think it was pretty much in line with the original. There are some things that, kind of divert from that, and we'll get into that in our spoiler-free show, but I think it held pretty true to that. And I know there's a lot of non-sayers, or what do you say?
Naysayers.
I knew it was something like that. So I know there's a lot of naysayers out there, probably, that are offended, that original fan base that are super fans of the original, and they're just going to hate it no matter what. I did not get that impression at all. I grew up with Ghostbusters, both 1 and 2. I enjoyed it. I think it was funny, just like you said, Bryce. I think it was well worth my money, and I'll buy it when it comes out and proudly display it next to my collection.
So it's going to be in the canon for you.
Yeah, it'll go in.
Okay, things that I liked. My favorite thing about it was the design of the film. I loved the way the ghosts looked, like the special effects area of it. I loved the equipment. We talked about this talking about the previous Ghostbusters, but really next level for this one because of technology or money or whatever the reason. But they didn't try to make all the ghosts look super real. They made them look stylized, which I really liked. It made it sit more comfortably next to the old Ghostbusters, when they could have gone a totally different direction for it. But I loved the look of the film. I loved the expansion of the kind of ghost catching techniques. I don't want to get into spoilers, but they do the traditional ghost catching, but then they also move past that with some other really interesting and fun ideas. I liked all 4 of the actresses. I thought they had a pretty good chemistry together. I was worried from the trailers that I was going to be annoyed by 1 or 2 of them, if not more, and that never happened. They did not bother me or annoy me. Most of the jokes landed pretty well. More of them worked than didn't, and I thought that was pretty good. So, yeah, for me overall, it really tapped into the things I loved about the original and kept a lot of those things true. So I guess I'm agreeing with both of you on that score.
Yeah, I think in particular the ghosts that you mentioned, the technology, it did feel new, but it was in the same vein as the originals. I think it was a nice throwback to it. It still had that same feel. The ghosts look a lot like, the originals. Definitely modernized a little more flair to them, but I think it was good.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you with the way the ghost looked. I'll get more into this as we talk in our spoiler show, but just the way they looked really good.
Yeah,
and it really it made me like. I think I'll just go into it even more, but I think this is definitely my favorite Ghostbusters movie. And I think just because a lot of it is because of the way it looks, it goes into what I know and what I like, and so
I think that falls definitely into the theory that I have, that the people that watch the originals have a lot of nostalgia for it, and it's almost like a sacred canon to them that they can't, you can't touch it. And you, having just barely seen it, you don't have those emotional ties to it. Yeah. And so I can totally see that, and I think that plays into what we've been talking about. So
cool. So negatives. What did you not like about it?
I'll go first.
Sure.
I want to overall state that it's definitely a thumbs up for me. I enjoyed the film overall, but there were a couple things that didn't work as well as I would have liked them to. Number one is I have very mixed feelings. I guess this goes in the mixed category, maybe not necessarily negative. I have very mixed feelings about all the cameos. The cameos were fun, and it was neat to see Bill Murray and, spoiler probably. Anyway, it was neat to see the old characters and have them come in, but in a way it also felt like they were trying so hard to hit every beat from the original movie. Like, we need to see all the original Ghostbusters. We need to see a lot of the ghosts from the original Ghostbusters. We need to see this and that.
The original Firehouse.
It almost felt like it slowed down the momentum every time there was this. It was like let's take a break from the movie to have a message from the '84 Ghostbusters. Like, it just, for me, it interrupted the flow somewhat. And it seemed like in this new version of Ghostbusters that almost Bill Murray seemed kind of out of place with the way his humor.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I mean, he's so essential to the first one. He is the key piece of the first one. But this has been reimagined, especially in the tone of the humor. The tone of the humor is very different in this one. It's still very funny. I laughed throughout the whole thing. But it's a very different kind of humor. And Bill Murray's kind of deadpan delivery, I didn't hate it. It didn't kill the movie or anything, but it didn't really sync up. It didn't have kind of a harmony with what the other actors were doing, it didn't seem like. And so that was a little bit of a negative for me. It took me a while to get warmed up to the movie too. Like, the beginning, some of the jokes at the beginning seemed to fall flat for me, but then I kind of got into the rhythm of what they were doing, and it worked more and more and more until by the end I was really into it. So it just seems like there was just a little disconnect, because I think I was expecting the kind of humor that was in the old ones. And while there is a lot of loyalty to what the original Ghostbusters brought to it, the style of the humor is very different. It's a little more modern, and I just had to get on the same page. But once I got on the page, I had a really good time with it. So for me, negatives, the cameos seem to stop the movie a little bit. The bad guy was interesting, but I have a personal bias against that because I don't like the fact that they made the bad guy a chubby white maintenance man, just a little too close to home. So the
feel your pain, brother.
It's like, come on, maintenance men are always the bad guys. Where's the love? Where's the love? I did like the fact that they did have a little bit of. I hope that's not a spoiler. Is that a spoiler? It might be a spoiler. Anyway, sorry. The maintenance man is a chubby white. Or the maintenance man. The bad guy is a chubby white maintenance man. The bad guy.
What maintenance man isn't a chubby white guy?
It's so true.
That's not a spoiler. That's not a spoiler.
That's true. Everybody on the planet should know that. But so that's one thing I did like. When we get in the spoiler show, there were things about the bad guy that I did like, and we'll get into that in the spoiler show. But yeah, those are my negatives. What do y'all think?
I'm going to withhold the most of my negatives because they're pretty specific for the spoiler show. But, I agree with you. I understand why they did the cameos, the throwback. the only one that seemed kind of out of place was Bill Murray to me. Dan Aykroyd seemed to be in the same universe, the same character.
That's fair, yeah.
But I don't know. I'm done. I'm excited for the spoiler show because I got quite a bit to say. So,
okay, Bryce.
Yeah, I can't really think of. I mean, I honestly don't really have too many negatives about it. I think because I wasn't expecting really anything from this movie. The first ones, if you listen to our previous Ghostbusters show, I didn't even really give them that high of a ranking. I mean, I think I gave it like a 7 and a 6, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not too high up there. I mean, it's decent, but... So I wasn't really expecting much. I liked all the actresses and actors. So, yeah, it was really good. I was impressed, and I wasn't expecting a lot, so I didn't have much to gripe about, but...
Okay. Well,
so, yeah.
Before we go to our star ratings, which I know we're going to do, I want to ask you something, Bryce. First, did you go see it by yourself?
No.
Did you go with your wife?
Of course not. You know the answer to this question.
So I want to know what your wife thought of it. What did she say?
We just need to make this like an official spot.
I know. I'm always so fascinated. I wish she'd come on the show because I want to hear like her thoughts are always so like different from mine. They're so fascinating.
Well, see, I'm horrible at like remembering what she says, so most of the time I just kind of like mumble through
husband.
Yeah. But no, she liked it a lot. She thought it was funnier than it was going to be, and she thought that the black lady was going to be super annoying, but it turned out to be like one of her favorite characters. And I think also she hadn't seen the old Ghostbusters for like a long time, probably since she's a kid, and so I mean, just not expecting much.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can never really go wrong when you don't have high expectations. So.
Well, the second thing I want to bring up, it leads really well into it. I was worried too from the marketing campaign. I didn't think the marketing campaign was as bad as everybody else did, but the movie is much better than the trailers make it look.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially when it comes to, it made, especially, what is the one actress's name? Is it Leslie Jones? Is that her name?
Something like that. Oh man, 1 second. Pause. Everyone that's listening, pause right now.
No, don't really,
because
it's going to keep going. Yeah.
That's true.
I think her name is Leslie Jones. Am I crazy?
I believe you're right.
Okay, well, the trailers did her a great disservice because they made her look stupid and loud and annoying.
Leslie Jones.
And I love the fact, because I was worried because they're like, 3 white scientists and 1 blue-collar black person. I'm like, that seems insensitive. And but it wasn't that at all. She was portrayed as a very intelligent character who knew a lot about the history of the city and things like that. And also, she wasn't annoying at all. She was very funny. She was a nice counterpoint to the others. So I wanted to talk about the difference between that marketing campaign and how the movie actually was. And one of the things, when I mentioned getting in the vibe of the humor, I'm mostly talking about Kate McKinnon, who does she's the tech girl in the film, comes up with the stuff. It took me a minute to figure out how I was going to respond to what she was doing, because she really goes for it in the movie. I mean, she is not trying to mimic other actors or anything. She's just going for her own thing, and it really took me back at first. And then, specifically her, I got in rhythm with, and she became funnier and funnier and funnier as I spent more time with her character in the film. So those are the last 2 points I wanted to make before we went into the spoiler show.
Cool. Well, let's do star ratings real quick, and then they can go watch the movie and then listen to the spoiler show. So I'm going to give this one, I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Wow.
I really quite enjoyed it a lot, and I would go see it again. I would go see it again tomorrow.
Wow.
I really enjoyed it a lot. It was very entertaining.
Okay.
I'm in the same boat with Bryce. Not necessarily with the ranking, not that high, but I would see it again. and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't get why everyone's hating on it. So I'm going to give it, I don't remember what Ghostbusters 2 was. Do you?
I think we.
I think it's. I'm going to say 7.5.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go probably a little lower because as we get into the spoiler show, we'll talk about it more. But I felt like it was a little more uneven than maybe you all two did. But anyway, point being, I'm gonna give it a 6.8. I think is where I would go, which is still me saying I really enjoyed the film. I just need to see it more before I rate it higher than that. So right now my cautious star rating is 6.8.
You and your points. Jeez.
All right. Well, first go watch the movie if you haven't. Then check out Ghostbusters. Tell us what you think of it. Listen to our spoiler show. Share all of them on Facebook and tell your friends and family about it. And keep listening to the podcast. We love that you do, and we love your feedback. This is the Valhalla Filmcast. I am Bryce Thompson.
I'm Brian Hammond.
And I'm Cody Rowry.
The following views, opinions, and commentary are the sole property of the Valhalla Filmcast. Any unauthorized reproduction without prior consent is prohibited. Any incidental music, audio clips, or film trailers are used for the sole purpose of film criticism and commentary as allowed under the Fair Use Act.